I would love to see this grow to 30, 40 agents.
We're in a market right now where I feel like it's at a standstill.
I don't back down that easy.
Jeff Infante of the Divine Group, Century 21. We've been in business and partnering over the course of 12 to 15 years. Jeff is really good at a bunch of different types of transactions. He's learned the trade, he's crafted it, and now here he is with his own brokerage. He's really going to accelerate bringing in great agents and really putting the Divine Group in the forefront of the years to come. Hey everybody, how we doing today? You know who I am. I'm with the one and only legendary Jeffrey Infante with Century 21, the Divine Group. Jeff,
Thank you.
Good to see you, my friend.
What's going on?
Man, this is like, I know I'm a little underdressed today. Jeff's always suited and booted because
Let me take off my suit.
that's what he does best. Always dressed to impress. So this one's a little bit different. It's kind of special for me because Jeff is actually one of the first realtors and real estate relationships that I had. Back since about 2007. It was funny because I was here the other day and we're going to talk about, and you're going to see a bunch of new pictures and his brokerage is looking unbelievable in here. I'm good with like transactions. You know, I'm always good with like remembering. So, you know, the other day I said, wow, we came a long way since Hawthorne Street, right? Because that was our first deal together, short sale back in 2008. And man, here we are, you know, well, 16, almost 16 years later.
It's been a while.
You know, still rocking and rolling. You know, first and foremost, I want to say how proud I am of you.
Thank you.
You know, I've seen our partnership and our friendship grow over the years. And now here we are, you know, thinking big. We've got your brokerage that you just got off the ground and it's finally yours, right? And that's like the most important thing I think that we can hop on today. But, you know, tell me a little about Jeff Infante, right? So how long you been doing real estate? You know, where have you been? Transaction-wise, and you know, growing into who you are today.
As far as years, I mean, too long to count right now. So I don't want to age myself too. But that's
not a gray hair on his head either, you know.
But you know what? We've been evolving, and this time around, you know, we did things a little bit different. We partnered up with my wife and Melissa. And we're doing things together now, which is awesome, and you know, and I think is all for a good and greater cause, right? Sure. But you know, with the market and everything else, I think that you know it's been some interesting times, right? Yeah. And as you said, right, when we met each other, going back to the short sales age, right, is it's like sort of we're going back to that, but a little bit different now.
Yeah.
But you know what? We'll survive.
Yeah.
We'll survive. And I think that for those that are listening out there is like, hey, don't panic. You know, just keep it cool. Yeah. Keep doing the things that, you know, to maintain productivity, just pick it up a notch, right? You made 10 calls, make 20, make 30 calls, right? You do door knocking, you do 10, do 20, do 30, right? Just take it up a little notch, right? Yeah. That's all it is. So, but other than that, it's been a journey and it's been a great experience.
When did you actually get your real estate license? Like when did you actually get involved in real estate? What year?
Oh my gosh. So I think you went back a little far. So it was back in 2009. So that was when I got the real estate license. And then it was just, you know, I went on from there. I mean, during that time actually, you know, as you know, the market was crazy, right? It was chaos, tumbling. Was down. And then you had you know, folks were saying when I took that leap of faith and took real estate full time, they were saying, you're crazy going into real estate. You know, how can you quit your full-time job and all this stuff? And I was like, bro, listen, you know, you got to make it, right? Is your determination to really take that leap of faith and go forward. And
I think what background did you come from? Like what was your career at that point when they were saying you're crazy for getting into real estate?
So well, I was a supervisor at GTech. So I ran the workflow coordination of the call center. So it was like a team of us four, but you know, it was getting paid. It was good. Yeah, it was good. You know, and then I remember I was going to get a promotion for a higher position, and you know I just got fed up with dealing with the nonsense of corporate, and I just said I'm leaving.
It's so funny how like typically like so I don't know if people know this, but I always don't talk about much, but I used to be a correctional officer, right? Mm-hmm. And like I remember when I left corrections after working there for about 6.5 years, they told me I was crazy, right? You know, like anytime you leave some sort of structured job where people are so dependent on like the week-to-week paycheck or the, you know, retirement at the end of the day or the corporate structure, they can't fathom the fact that you can think outside the box, right? You can think actually a little bit differently. So everybody was like, oh, he'll be back, or like, you know, he won't make it. You know, and here you are, you know, 14, 15 years later. You know, it's kind of funny that, you know, you have evolved, you know, and it took a lot of hard work. It took a lot of training. It took a lot of sacrifice. It took a lot of dedication. It took getting hit over the head a few times, right? I'm sure, as you know, you know, the road's never easy to success.
Correct.
But I want to harp on a couple of things you just said, because I think we're in a time right now where just about the end of Q1, you know, the real estate market hasn't been what everybody thought it would be in the spring. You know, we're trending in a different direction. So you mentioned like, you know, hey, if you know, if you're making 10 calls a day, make 20 calls a day. If you're making 10 knocks a day, make 20 knocks a day.
Correct.
But, you know, this might be a great time to talk about like how that isn't as easy as it sounds, right? Because from somebody from experience that's done it and you're continually doing it and you're getting your agents to do it, like if you were to coach somebody, like how would you tell them like, oh, just go out and make 10 calls. And if they've never made a call in the last 3 or 4 years because it's been easier, or like, you know, the lead generations have been there, the Zillows have been there, like the sphere of influence has been there. So how would you suggest that somebody does do those things, right? Those disciplines, because that's not easy.
Right. It's not. So it really comes back with like history, right? Experience. So if you trust me enough, if you were a new agent and you trust me enough to know who I am, right? And how long I've been in the business, you can say, okay, lead me on, right? So, and one thing I say is history repeats itself. There's nothing new under the sun, right? So there are going to be agents that are going to do very well in this market, and there's some that they're still doing it, right? And there's some that are just going to fall off. But what determines those two like grades of like individuals, success, right? Like of success, right? Like what determines that? And it really comes down to your attitude, your character, and your determination to how far you really want to go forward with it. You know what I mean? So there you are, a new agent comes in, they trust me, I guide them, I say, just trust the process, just trust me. You can trust me.
Blind faith, right? You have to have a little blind faith.
It's like a child, right? You tell your child, hey, listen, you know, go this path, right? Because it's going to be better for you, right? But if you don't, well, then you're going to go through the hard knock life, right? Yeah. So it's just one of those things where either you do it or you don't.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's a really good point, because I you know, interviewing a bunch of different agents and broker owners, the people that I've worked with a lot. I mean, a lot of the people that we're doing these call and the closer episodes with, you know, they're people that I've been working with a long time. There's been some newer people, and I think the consistency is always there when it comes down to, you know, the people that have longevity in this business have done those ABCs that you're talking about. You know, they've done the calls. And I'm seeing some of the agents that I'm running into today that have 2 years experience or 3 years experience. They've only know the market like going this way. And their mentorship in some instances is only somebody that's been doing it 4 or 5 years. So the guy that's been doing it 4 or 5 years, do they have that extra know-how? I mean, there's the stars, right? There's the Kyle Sabos of the world that have been doing it 5 or 6 or 7 years that are just like out of this world. But then there's the other ones that have not been through the markets that we've been through. They've not been through some of those difficult times, and they're fighting it. You know, instead of resetting, like I've always said, like it's always okay to take a step back, you know, to kind of reset. And I think that's where, you know, your brokerage, your tutelage, what you offer here will continue to evolve people. You know, by the way, we're bilingual here. You know, we've got all these different irons in the fire, but I think nothing can be taken like away from you for the amount of time that you've been in the business.
Absolutely.
So that's like an important thing. So like if you're an agent and you're wondering, how do I get to that next level? You know, there's mentors like Jeff, there's opportunity out here that I think that, you know, some of the newer agents, and I think you'll start to see some movement at some point.
Absolutely.
You know, because I mean, I know you're recruiting, you're seeing it now. Yeah. I mean, you're recruiting new agents, right? I mean, you guys are starting to stockpile that agency list. So that's a good thing.
Like, you know, and one of the things that I'm very grateful for and proud of being where I am now is the power of the network that we have collectively together alongside with Kyle Sabins, obviously. And he's done a lot of great things for us all and has given us the resources, the tools, right, for us to grow and develop. And although we're all independently like leaders in our own ways, right, but we're all connected, which is great. And I think that makes us a lot more stronger.
You can plug and play whenever you need.
Correct. So, and I think that a leader, right, I mean, and not to knock down any other brokerages, right? There's brokers out there that you come in, they'll promise you the world, right? Because I've been in those shoes before. They promise you the world. You get there, and next thing, the broker's busy doing their own thing. Right. And then when you need that help, that assistance, they're not there to help you out, right? But a leader needs to lead by example, right? And you know, there's some that, you know, not to say any names, but they were like, oh, well, go look at his numbers or go check his production or whatever. But let me tell you this, right? Okay, when a leader is focusing on the pack to develop and then strengthen the agents within the brokerage, right? It's taken away from his time and it's taken away from his productivity. But how much stronger is a pack together than just one person rolling by themselves?
Of course.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's what makes a big difference with a lot of the brokerages out there is that they don't see it that way. When you train an agent that's in your house, I mean, talks like you, walks like you, fights like you, it's ready to go, right? Versus you going at it by yourself, right? So it's like that step back, right? To go forward 10 times. You know?
So Jeff, you've obviously been in the industry we're looking into 14 years or so or more into the business. Like, what would you say the difference between Jeff of that era as opposed to Jeff now, the business owner, you know, created the Divine Group, and like, you know, what does that feel like for you? Like, tell me like how you've transformed into that person.
Wow, I mean, that's a lot to say right there. We could spend 20 minutes talking about that. But in a nutshell, I would say I gained more wisdom, right? And I mean, what is wisdom in itself? I mean, you think about it, you grow, you develop this character, this persona. I think the determination has always been there with me.
I've seen that too.
But the wisdom and the character has grown stronger and more mature, right? And that comes with age, right?
Yeah, I know. So, unfortunately, everything comes with age, right? Everything comes with age,
right? But I think the passion has grown, and I've seen what real estate has done from when I first started to where I am now, right? I'm a living proof of what it is. When you start to walk the walk, talk the talk, right? You know, you're that walking billboard. And I think for me is been the difference, you know, in a nice way of saying it, right? Because I can go back and talk about a lot of things, but my faith has gotten stronger. I don't back down that easy. You know, I am determined as much as, you know.
You feel confident in that though, right? Like
absolutely.
Years ago, that 09 and 10 guy, not as knowledgeable as you are today, you're willing to let more pass through. You're letting more people dictate to you how the business is going to be, as opposed to you now feeling like you've got all the tools in the tool belt. Kind of moving forward.
Right, absolutely. And then, you know, again, it comes with experience, right? Sometimes I talk to clients and, you know, you just know how to talk to people. You can read people a little easier now.
We talked about this the other day when I was here.
Right. So, you know, you know people like that, right? So, and then based on the conversation you'll have, you know a little bit about their personality, their mindset. You carry that and you can adjust, you know. And where some people are just, this is the way I am. I'm going to be this way, and this is how it's going to be. No, you have to learn to adjust. And I think that's been my biggest, I'd say, accomplishment, I would say, as a person, right? Because, you know, everyone wants to change, but they are unwilling to take the steps to change within their own selves.
Well, if you've seen in the videos that I've done, and and any of the stuff that I always talk about, change is more than just a jingle in your pocket.
Right.
right? Yeah. And that's the God's honest truth, because I mean, the money is great, but like if you don't change, then it doesn't matter, right? It's like you don't evolve, if you don't become a different person, if you don't educate yourself, if you don't grow, if you don't have mentorship,
right?
You know, where are we? Who are we? What's our mission? What's our core values?
Right.
You know, and I think you've kind of adapted to a lot of that.
Right. Yeah. No, thank you. And you know what? Like I always say, I think it was Isaac Newton that said this, right? It says, I only see further because I stand in the shoulders of giants.
Right.
So then, right, we've known each other for a long time.
Yes, sir.
And I know that every business is going through the challenges right now with this down market. I mean, what are some things you're foreseeing in your industry right now?
Yeah, it's a great question, because you know, the crystal ball is not like fully exposed right now, right? I mean, we have so many different variables going on in the market. You know, we have high interest rates, what people consider high. We have high values. We have a bunch of, I feel like, new agents that we need to educate better. I feel like there's a lot more hair on the deals, meaning like, you know, because we're passing inspections, or because we've gone through this, like there's a lot more issues at the closing tables. So we just need to reset, I think, a little bit. You know, and then we talked a little bit about resetting and you know, kind of getting a game plan. Because again, with that crystal ball not being full, like years ago, you know, we had adjustable rate mortgages and we had a lot of unemployment, and you know, so we're in a market right now where I feel like it's at a standstill. It's like an old Western standstill. You know, people aren't putting houses on the market because they don't want to go from a 2.5% interest rate to a 6% interest rate. You know, there isn't a lot of foreclosures. They're coming, right? We've started to see auctions starting to happen, and you know, notices of defaults are up, and FHA defaults are in at an all-time high. So yeah, it's gaining traction. But the challenges for me is just to be, you know, who I've always been, but you know, do it on a new level for newer agents, which is one, you know, be a trusted advisor. Two, educate them. So give them something that they haven't received over the last 4 or 5 years. And the last part, I would say, you know, continue being a deal maker. You know, people come to the closings and we have a lot of different issues. So, you know, being clear-headed, being, you know, easy to talk to, and also having great relationships with the title companies and other attorneys helps me help you. Right. So if we can continue to educate first and foremost, 2, create new business, and 3, you know, make those closings happen at a good timely manner, and also protect people, I think we'll be okay.
You know what? You mentioned something very important too, and I think aside from that, I think is important how agents, right, are the first front run, like, right? They start everything with the client. And I think that agents nowadays needs to start setting the expectations with that particular client, what to expect in the market. This is what's going on, right? So then that way, when it comes down to you at the closing table, it's a little bit easier, I would say, right? Versus
I see the difference in the approach. It's really like, I could take somebody like yourself who's been doing this a long time, and I almost feel like it's a layup. Like, all right, here's Dan, here's who the lender is, here's who you're going to be working with, here's all the contact information. And then I see the wheelers and the dealers, like the newer agents that don't have that structure. They're just putting deals up and passing them off. You know, this great idea of like everybody needs a transaction coordinator. You know, I've done 3 deals and I'm still using a transaction coordinator. Half of the agents, and this is no knock against agents, but they haven't been taught the actual business side of it. Like there are agents that don't even know how to put contracts together still, how to put addendums together, or even set the expectations. You know, setting the expectations makes your transactions much smoother, much easier. But this is our new goal. This is our new objective, is to go out and educate. You know, we're doing seminars again, we're doing trainings again, and I know you are going to be the forefront of that as well with your brokerage. You know, getting agents to know the business inside and out, so that their representation of their client is also there, but also at the end of the day, making the transactions much easier. And if that's easy, and if you can make it easy, the referral partners and the referral business comes. You know, if you do a great job by somebody, this is one of these weird businesses. It's like, oh my God, Jeff got me in my house. You know, and you got to tell your uncle, their cousin, their brother, their sister, because Jeff was the guy. You know, if they had a bad experience, I always say bad news travels quicker than good.
That's always.
So Jeff, I want to thank you very much for having me in. Obviously, we're going to do some nice, what we call B-roll in the industry, and take a great look at the brokerage. I mean, you've done an amazing job, and I know you're going to continue to do an amazing job, and you'll always have my support. We've had it from day one.
Yes.
So I always like to ask the question, like, why Dan Balkun, right? Like, why me? Like, why Balkun title? So, he's laughing.
Look at this guy. This guy is awesome. What's not to like about you?
But why over the years? Like, what's made you stay, I guess, attracted to me or in business or like sending your referral clients, your friends, your family?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Dan, so honestly, I think you've always been loyal. That's one thing, right? Aside from that, when I needed you, you always was there, right? And that carries a long way. Business is business, but when you can go past a business aspect and really connect with people on a personal level and help out genuinely from your heart, I think that says it all right there.
Well,
and you're the man, brother.
Well, thank you, brother. I appreciate that. Yeah. Well, awesome. That's awesome. What's the plan? The plan for the Divine Group? Like, what's the plan moving forward? I know you have a stable of agents that you've had already. Yeah. But what's the things that you want to see grow? Like, where do you see the brokerage going in 23 and 24 and years and beyond?
So right now we're 16 total right now, which is great, and we just opened agents up, which is awesome. And my wife has been a huge part of that. She's been helping out as well.
I like that little team, by the way.
It's been great. Yeah. It's been very great, and I'm very thankful for that
support staff.
And as what she would say is, let's work with the pack that we got now. Let's get them ready. Let's get them trained, right? I mean, if other agents come in, we'll welcome them in.
Of course.
But we want to help those grow because if I can teach you to fish, right, you'll eat for life. And that's what we're doing here. We're teaching each agent to go out there to become hunters. Yeah. And I mean, obviously, I would love to see this grow to 30, 40 agents, you know what I mean, at one point.
Congratulations again.
Thank you.
Looking forward to many years of prosperity, happiness, and nothing but love.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Just sitting down with Jeff and talking with him, feel great for him. He has his new location in Cranston, Rhode Island on Reservoir Avenue. As we talk about shooting for the stars, I think Jeff is the next shooting for the stars.